So now that we've linked our JavaScript, we're just about ready to start coding. Before we do, though, I want to talk a little bit about data types. And so, what are data types? Well, when you're programming, what you're basically doing is working with and manipulating data on your computer, and there are different types of data. And so, what are those different types? Well, let's take a look. So first, really quick, to make comments in JavaScript, you can do // and that comments a line, or just like your HTML, like I talked about, if you do command or control / on your as a keyboard shortcut, you can make a comment line. So the first type of data in JavaScript is known as a string. And what is a string? Well, a string is simply words, right? So hello, goodbye. And it's not just words really, but any number of characters. So when you might be asking, why is it called a string? Well, a string refers specifically to a string of characters. Basically, a word or sentence is made up of a number of characters or a string of characters. That's where it gets its name from. So hello, goodbye, not just regular words, but you can also, it could be gibberish, or it can be my name is Michael. It could be a whole sentence. So with JavaScript, unlike other languages, it doesn't really matter if you use single quotes or double quotes. The only thing you really want to focus on is that you're consistent. So when you're coding your programs, just pick single quotes or double quotes. There is one more type of string called a template string. It's a little more advanced and not really necessary at this point, but it's not that hard to learn if you want to look it up. So if you're making words or sentences, you're going to wrap them in single quotes or double quotes, and that is the string data type. The next data type are numbers, and so that one should be easy, right? So any set of numbers can be represented in JavaScript. Unlike other programming languages, JavaScript doesn't distinguish between integers and what are known as floating point. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. What are known as floating point or decimal numbers. So 42.555. If you used another programming language before, you might recognize, the left as these are being ints and these being floats or doubles. JavaScript doesn't distinguish. And so these are all just numbers to JavaScript. So you can have numbers. And quick difference between strings and numbers do not need double quotes. If you wrap numbers in double quotes or single quotes, you are making a string, and it's often something that you're probably not intending to do, because then JavaScript will treat this like a string and you won't be able to do things like math on it. So make sure when you're writing numbers that you neglect adding quotes to them. So strings, numbers. The next one are booleans. And so what are booleans? Well, booleans have two different values. That's it. So it's very easy. Booleans can either be true or false. And if you think about this, in computing terms, this is representative of ones and zeros, because everything in computers are binary ones and zeros. And so what you might be thinking, what's the use or purpose of booleans? Well, booleans are meant to represent situations that have one outcome or the other. So you might think, if you stick your head outside, is it raining or is it not? It can only have two possible outcomes. Either true, it's raining, or false, it's not raining. So situations like that are represented in code all the time. We'll dive deeper into the idea of booleans when we talk about conditionals in a video or two here. So that is the boolean type. So those three are the main simple types in JavaScript, and when I say simple types, basically they're not complicated. We can just assign those into variables directly, and we'll learn about other data types in JavaScript that aren't so simple, specifically called arrays and objects. And one more data type I want to talk about real quick is the idea of empty data types. And so the empty data type. And so the values that empty data type can have, and it's really not one that you're like gonna actively use. You're not gonna be like, oh, I want an empty data type here. That's very often not the case. You're gonna use these other values. But empty can either be undefined or null. And so we'll see in the next video here when we start using variables, if you just declare a variable without assigning it a value, you will get a value of undefined, meaning you did not define this variable, so it doesn't have a value. Null is very similar to undefined, but you have to purposely set null. So if you assign a value of null to a variable, that's saying this variable is purposely empty. And sometimes you do that for temporary situations. It's not often, but null can only be purposely assigned, whereas undefined is you left it empty, and you didn't purposely assign anything to it. So those are data types in JavaScript. Next video we'll do a little bit about variables and start using these data types. Thank you for watching.